Medical College, Kerala, of course, and that's where sir was involved in teaching the postgraduate students as well in oncology. To his credit, of course, he has a lot of national, international publications, journals, shared podiums at various meetings. More importantly, what I feel honored is that sir has been the advisor to the Government of India, Director General of Health Services, in preparing. Yeah, so sir was the advisor of Government of India, Director General of Health Services, in preparing the development of minimum standards of clinical establishment for medical oncology in the year 2014. I think that's that. And this is a huge credit to sir. And without much ado, I now pass on the this podium to sir. Over to you, sir. Eagerly looking forward to the presentation and the key takeaways that you would like to give to all of us.
Yeah, good evening. Thanks for the introduction. Catherine is a kind of path-breaking study in the sense that previously we were not changing our HER2 inhibitors, anti-HER2 treatment based on the pathological complete response given as neoadjuvant treatment. So this is a path-breaking and very seriously. So directly getting into a study, this CME is based on the adjuvant treatment of Kadcyla.
Sir, may I request you to give the slide share mode? Thank you, sir. Thanks.
So,
thank you very much, sir.
We are using Kadcyla as adjuvant treatment for people of HER2 positive breast cancer based on the residual disease status. So, this is a study rationale. Study rationale is there is no study data previous to this thing based upon the residual disease status of HER2 positive breast cancers of changing the HER2 treatment. And one study called CREATE-X, that is basically in triple negative breast cancers, obviously HER2 new negative early breast cancer, based upon the residual disease status, we are changing it to, we are giving capacitabine based upon the neoadjuvant response. So this sets up the stage for what about the HER2 positive breast cancers. So this is the study. This is a standard of care before Catherine. So in a newly diagnosed HER2 positive early breast cancer, we are doing Herceptin-based chemotherapy with Perjeta. And if there is residual status disease, then we are continuing with the same regimen. If there is complete pathological complete response, then also we are continuing with the same regimen. And we are continuing 1 calendar year of Perjeta and Herceptin. So we are, regardless of the response to neoadjuvant treatment, we are continuing the same treatment. So how the response to neoadjuvant treatment is assessed? It can be assessed mainly by two types, based upon the clinical examination as well as the pathological assessment. And which is more accurate? Pathological assessment is more accurate, of course. And regarding the PCR, there are some different terminologies. As students of medical oncology, we need to be aware of. One is the what is the breast PCR, absence of invasive breast cancer in the breast, irrespective of the DCIC. And in this case, the axillary lymph nodes, we are not bothered about. What about the total PCR? Total PCR is mainly used in clinical studies, especially in the study we are going to discuss, Catherine trial. The absence of invasive breast cancer in the breast as well as the axillary lymph nodes. And what about the German PCR? This is the most kind of they are going to deeper because this is the absence of invasive as well as the absence of DCIC in the breast and axillary lymph nodes. But in our study, invasive component is mainly taken into account. That is total PCR. So, what is the importance of total PCR in Catherine trial is that the patient with total PCR, that is absence of invasive cancer in the breast and axillary lymph nodes, they are not given Kadcyla in the adjuvant setup. They are excluded. We are coming to that in the coming slides. So, what is the rationale behind using this thing is that we have seen in historical data that those who are having residual disease, they are having a lesser EFS and OS compared to those who are having total PCR in the neoadjuvant setup. So the study design is that it's an open label adjuvant study, phase 3, randomized, HER2 positive early breast cancer, neoadjuvant chemotherapy plus Herceptin, and you are giving to mainly at least 16 weeks of neoadjuvant treatment, and at least 9 weeks of anti-HER2 treatment should be included, and at least 9 weeks of taxane-based treatment should also be included. And if you are using a dose-dense regimen, mainly we are not using dose-dense treatment in HER2 positive breast cancer, but if at all you are using dose-dense, then at least 8 weeks of taxane-based chemotherapy and at least 8 weeks of anti-HER2 treatment is mandatory. And after that, you are putting the patient to surgery. And if there is residual invasive tumor, the residual DCIC is not taken as residual invasive cancer, and residual invasive tumor is there, then you are randomizing the patient in a 1:1 fashion to Herceptin, continuation of Herceptin, or continuation of changing over to Kadcyla. How many Kadcylas are given? We are giving 14 cycles of adjuvant trastuzumab is given. And inclusion criteria, all HER2 positive breast cancers confirmed by central lab, and histologically confirmed invasive breast cancer should be there, and all stages except metastatic and T1A and B. T1A and TNB, T1B and 0 are excluded. And as we said previously, we are doing the HER2 positive status at the beginning, not after neoadjuvant chemotherapy. That is very important. Completion of 16 weeks of prior treatment should be needed. That we have discussed earlier, these conditions. And surgical removal of all evident diseases in the breast and lymph nodes are needed at the time of surgery. And pathological evidence of residual disease is needed. Then only you can put the patient to adjuvant Kadcyla. And we are seeing the hormonal receptor status also to see the subset analysis. ECOG P performance status 0 and 1 are only included, and patient should have a ejection fraction of at least 50% and no decrease of ejection fraction by more than 15% from pre-chemotherapy left ventricular ejection fraction. During chemotherapy, Herceptin, we are seeing the ejection fraction at periodic intervals. Exclusion, as we know, all metastatic breast cancers are excluded, and prior malignancy is excluded, and those who are clinically evident progression or clinically evident gross residual disease, they are excluded. So that means patient should be obviously showing a kind of response to the neoadjuvant treatment. Only those conditions, those who have got a frank progression during neoadjuvant, they are excluded. And grade 2 peripheral neuropathy, they are excluded. And any anti-cancer investigational drug less than or equal to 28 days prior to study, they are also excluded. And if they have used a cumulative dose of doxorubicin more than 240 milligram per meter square or epirubicin more than 480 milligram per meter square, they are also excluded. What are the endpoints? The primary endpoint is not OS. It is the invasive disease-free survival, and time. That means time until the first occurrence of one of the events, following events: ipsilateral invasive breast cancer recurrence, ipsilateral locoregional disease, distal recurrence, contralateral invasive breast cancer, and death due to any cause. That means including breast cancer and non-breast cancer. Secondary endpoints are IDFS as per the STEEP definition, DFS or OS, cardiac safety, overall safety, DRFS, that is DRF 1 is disease-free interval, DRF5, that is disease distant recurrence-free interval. Study population are evenly matched. Herceptin and the Axilams are evenly matched. Mean duration of follow-up is also almost equivalent in both arms. And look at the stage, they are also evenly matched. And ER positive patients were 70% odd in both the arms. ER negative were around 27 to 28% in both the arms. And Herceptin alone were given as neoadjuvant in 80% of the cases. And Herceptin plus Perjeta or Neratinib or Lapatinib were given in another 20% of the patients. Not positive patients were around 50% of the patients, and non-negative patients were around that much also. So what we can see is that there is almost half of the patients were not positive, and they are not that early stage. And median age, you can see that it's around 40 to 64% of the patients. And in the race wise also, the Asian population was around 8% of patients, and whites were around 72 to 74% of the patients. And it's region wise, they were Western Europe descent, and rest of the world were, and Americans, and rest of the world were around 22 to 23% of the patients. Demographic, I'm not going to details. What we are interested is that YPT2 and YPT3 were around 25 and 7.7 and 6.9 respectively. And YPT0, that is pathological complete response on neoadjuvant chemotherapy is around 41 to 44% of the patients. and 75% of the patients were received anthracyclines, and you can see that double combination of Herceptin and Perjeta was given in around 18% of the patients. This is what we are interested, and IDFS is the primary endpoint that we have discussed, and at 3 years the NEGM study has shown that 3-year IDFS is there is a gap of 11% between the Herceptin continuation arm compared to the Kadcyla arm. Kadcyla arm is definitely superior after medium follow-up of 41%. This is statistically significant results in both Herceptin pre-treated and Herceptin and Perjeta pre-treated population. So the DFS is definitely better with the combination, but still it is not beating the Kadcyla that you can see from the slides. This is that thing. If you are giving Herceptin alone followed by Kadcyla, then the 3-year IDFS is 87.7%. If you are giving the combination followed by Kadcyla, then it is even better. Then 3-year IDFS is around 91.4%. And the hazard ratio is definitely impressive, it's 0.5. So we can see from this slide that it works across the group. It works Herceptin alone, Herceptin plus additional HER2 treatment. It works in the ER negative and PR negative, and it works in the hormone positive also. It works in all age groups, and it works across the globe also. You can see that the relative benefit of Asians is slightly less, but it's still impressive, very much to the left of the median. And you can see from this slide that the more the residual disease, it is more to the left of the median. So in those patients who are having higher the YP status, the Kadcyla changeover is much more impressive. And we are going to the next slide. IDFS by Neogen Perjeta, that we have already discussed the curve. Prior Herceptin only 3-year IDFS is 75.9 versus 87.7%. Prior Herceptin plus Perjeta is 3-year IDFS is 80.9 versus 91.4%. So even in the double antibody treatment given as neoadjuvant also, you can change over if there is residual. The IDFS is still 11%, a good 11% better than the double antibody treatment continuation. So this is also distant subset analysis, distant recurrence-free rate. That is also compared to Herceptin arm, the Kadcyla arm is better.
Yes, Cam.
I think
I
sir
think
has
sir
disconnected.
has sir has lost the connection. So please bear with us for a couple of
Right.
minutes. We'll just connect sir. Maybe Cam, you can reach out to sir and see if you can help him
Yeah,
connect
same.
back.
Right. Hello.
Yes, Cam.
Yeah, so just spoken to Dr. Partha Sarthi. He said that some network problem was there. Actually, his Wi-Fi disconnected. He's just joining in couple of minutes.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a power
can you
failure.
share
So
it?
sorry for the interruption. So what we are talking where was that distant recurrence-free rate was also impressive in the Katsila arm compared to Herceptin. So there is a difference of 89.7 percentage versus 83 percentage in the Katsila arm compared
Sir,
to sorry.
Sorry to bother you. If you can share your slides, please.
Yeah. You can't see the slides.
No, sir.
Okay.
So you have to share again, sir.
Okay.
So in the bottom middle, you will see share screen, green icon.
Yeah. Share.
It's coming, sir. Yeah, now it's visible, sir.
Yeah. So this was the previous slide. So the OS is currently not mature and it's still not statistically significant. So the p-value is still not statistically significant. So we will not discuss that. And as we know, in an adjuvant trial, it is very difficult to get a OS benefit. this much early after 3 years of follow-up. That will be very difficult, so we will wait. The thing is that the secondary endpoints we are discussing, the second primary non-breast cancer, that is also 3-year event-free rate is 77% is in the Herceptin and 87.7% in the Kadcyla arm. And the 3-year event-free rate is also impressive in the Kadcyla arm. So across the all the secondary endpoints, other than the OS, the Kadcyla arm is superior to the Herceptin alone arm. So we can summarize the study. It reduced the rate of IDFS, which is the primary endpoint, by 50% compared with the Herceptin, and it is highly statistically significant. And 3-year IDFS increased from 77% to 88.3. The magnitude of IDFS benefit was consistent across all subgroups. Very impressive. We have seen that all the subgroups were on the left side of the median, and OS, as we have discussed, is that it is still not statistically significant. Safety data, though we have to state before discussing the side effects that Herceptin and Kadcyla are not similar drugs. Kadcyla has got a chemotherapy, one microtubule inhibitor also. Definitely more side effects will be there compared to Herceptin. So whether it is bothersome or not, that is what we are discussing. Patients completing 14 cycles, that means the entire treatment, were 81% in the Herceptin arm, and it's the same in the Kadcyla arm. The dose reduction was needed in around 10% of the patients by 1 level, and by 2 levels in around 4% of the patients in the Kadcyla arm. So median cycles, number of cycles completed is 14 in both the arms. So more than 70% of the patients completed the entire 14 cycles of Kadcyla. We can see that the side effects percentage were definitely higher in the Kadcyla arm because it contained chemotherapy component. Despite the higher incidence of thrombocytopenia in the Kadcyla arm, the grade 3 hemorrhage were similar in both the groups. And this is what we were discussing. The platelet count thrombocytopenia is around 5.7% in the Kadcyla compared to 0.3% in the Herceptin. And neuropathy, that is also because it's a microtubule inhibitor, it is seen in 1.4% of the patients. And anemia and all, around 1% of the patients, it is not bothersome. And this is what we are really interested in. Any grade 3 side effects or not. Grade 3 adverse side effects were 15.4% in the Herceptin compared to 25.7% in the Kadcyla arm. And how much was the discontinuation rate due to adverse effects? It is around 18% of the patients. And peripheral neuropathy was seen in 1.4% of the patients in the Kadcyla arm because it's a microtubule inhibitor. And alteration of the liver enzymes were seen in less than 1% of the patients. And thrombocytopenia, that is a repetition of the earlier slide, that is seen in around 5.7% of the patients in Kadcyla. And what about the other side effects? Fatigue is seen in around 1.1% of the patients. Arthralgia, 0.9% of the patients. Hot flushes are not seen in Kadcyla. And other than that, the side effects profile was very much favorable for the Kadcyla. And what about the cardiac events? Kadcyla is not contributing anything to the Herceptin compared to the Herceptin. cardiac events were in fact lesser in the Kadcyla arm and compared to the Herceptin arm. So summarizing the safety status, grade 3 adverse effects were definitely more in the Kadcyla arm because it contains a chemotherapy component. Compared to the chemotherapy component, and the side effects were 12.7% more frequent in the Kadcyla. And if you are seeing the discontinuation rate, it is 18% in the Kadcyla arm compared to Herceptin arm. The most common adverse effects were the alteration of the liver enzymes and so on. That we have discussed already, thrombocytopenia is seen in the Kadcyla, but grade 3 are less. Grade 3 hemorrhages are also similar in the groups. So overall, if you are summarizing, the study has met its primary objective of 50% reduction in the IDFS. The safety profile of Kadcyla is consistent with the previous trials. The magnitude of IDFS benefit was seen in all subgroups, and this will change the current standard of care. So what we are seeing is a practice changing study. The risk of Kadcyla is the risk of Kadcyla is transformative for the patients with HER2-positive early breast cancer who have residual disease following completion of neoadjuvant treatment. So there is a benefit. There is not much of side effects. So if there is a residual disease, there is a fantastic option of changing the anti-HER2 treatment, and you are getting an IDFS benefit of 11% at 3 years, which is highly statistically significant. So this is the study. Newly diagnosed high-risk HER2-positive early breast cancer, neoadjuvant, you are starting with the double antibody and with chemotherapy. After surgery, if there is residual disease, here we are changing the practice. If there is residual disease, we are changing over to Kadcyla. If there is not a PCR, then we can continue with the previous regimen for a total of 1 calendar year. So following this approval, patients who have residual disease should receive 14 cycles of Kadcyla in the adjuvant setting. And those who have got a PCR following neoadjuvant chemotherapy can continue with the double antibody for 1 calendar year. That's all. Thank you.